Welcome to Bridging the Realms, a place where we ground cosmic wisdom into physical embodiment. Get ready to explore deep esoteric truths and the raw messiness of the human experience, because here we are about integration and not bypassing.
Through Marston's psychic channeling and multidimensional mediumship, Lauren's astrological wisdom and clinical expertise, we explore the edges and expand our consciousness into new realms of understanding. So grab your tea or a glass of wine and relax as you come to the remembrance of who you truly are. Welcome back to Bridging the Realms. Today, we're going to talk about really building up our intuition. We're going to talk about trusting the process of life unfolding. What else do we talk about today, Marston?
We are talking about everything under the sun with regard to mediumship. We're talking about how souls will make soul contracts and how they present themselves in our lives, how to trust the synchronicities and signs that we receive from our higher consciousness and from our guides, and how to trust the flow of the real nature of who we really are.
Okay, perfect. Well, grab tea, grab your wine, whatever you need to just indulge and relax. And here we go.
Yeah, we were like, probably should have gone live a while ago based on what we were just talking about, but we'll just continue the dialogue. But we're gonna circle back because there are a few things we definitely want to share with you guys too.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
Okay, have the chat up. Do we want to talk about just like being on the online spaces right now?
Yeah, I think that's probably yes, because that's an important thing to talk about, and I think it'll open. I kind of feel something opening up with that. There's something coming through about language and how once again, language can be used as a tool for unity or a weapon for divisiveness. And like what we're experiencing in our online spaces, platforms, communities is people throwing their own emotions around to tell you that you're not saying something in the right way because it's not the way that they're able to understand it. But somebody else might understand it perfectly in the way that you're saying it, which is why it's so important to just speak from a place of authenticity and the way that you're meant to speak about whatever it is you're speaking about, because it's going to resonate for different people. Someone else might be speaking about it in a different way that's going to resonate with different people, but we're all actually talking about the same thing, just wrapped in different language. And Lauren and I were just talking about like how we're experiencing a lot of hatred and a lot of just a lot of projections that are taking place right now. Mm-hmm.
And when you say that, it's so funny because I have just got to the point of my mentorship. So I teach astrology and we're done with foundations. And so now it's interpretation time. And I have told them time and time again, I'm going to interpret something different than you are, because astrology is subjective and it's from your own experiences and consciousness, which is also why we need more Black astrologers, because bigger voices on the online space. It comes from your own experience. And that's what I keep telling them. It's like your stream of consciousness is going to think about it differently. Follow that, because you're going to find people that resonate with you. And I find clients who resonate with me and my therapeutic background and everything that I've gone through and my own chart, right? And so to your point, it really is just how you're saying it, your own perception, and who resonates with it, and trusting that. But when you get projections, it's like, oh, wait, should I do this? Is this worth it? And then you're triggered and the spirals and all the things.
Oh my gosh. I mean, 100%. And I think, this is to our earlier point that we were talking about with community. This is about building something so much bigger. And and it's one video that you post. People just project everything because they think that one video is reflective of the whole story of everything that's going on. So they're like, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you talk about this? And it's like, actually, I did in a different video. This is what I'm focusing on right here, but this is all part of a bigger picture going on here. I mean, this is, like I always say, the conversation about quantum physics, spirituality, energy, science, religion, extraterrestrials, consciousness expansion, the healing journey, grief. This is literally all the same conversation wrapped in different language. And I think that's what trips people up, is when people try to put things, like you experience this in astrology too, in boxes, in containers.
Yes.
And we are multidimensional beings existing in a multidimensional reality. And we ourselves are not meant to fit in a box and be labeled. And yet that is what makes people feel most comfortable and safe so that they can understand something that is labeled because that's how society has taught us to operate in this world.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this conversation is this is literally our egos from a psychological level. It creates safety when we can identify, because the ego is all around
Yeah.
identity, right? And so it
Hmm.
literally creates an emotional safety, which then if you think about the Courses of Miracles, that book that was channeled through, or if you even think about the fucking Bible, right? It's a journey of understanding the ego and understanding the soul and
Yeah.
transmuting that separationness, right? Or astrology.
Hmm.
Every single spiritual text is how do you move through the ego to the soul to understand we are one, we are unity, and the ego has created us
Yes.
to be separate to one experience humanness. I think that is important to experience the individualization of being human and being able to manipulate matter and experience stuff. And
Hmm.
then realize that it's just a projection and we are from
Yes.
unity consciousness.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly it. It's the remembrance of who we really are. And this is like this isn't and I think unfortunately religion how do I want to say this? Institutionalized religion and other like patriarchal systems in our society have taught us that it's, a hierarchical way
Mm-hmm.
of doing things, right? It's ascension. It's getting to a place, ascending to heaven, right? And really what it is it's just a peeling back. It's just a remembering, peeling back the layers, the caked on mud that has just like been caked on and caked on over generations and for your whole life. And that's the conditioning and the programming and being told who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to talk about. And this is like the like just the shining through the cracks of that and just the dissolving and melting away of that to the core essence of who we really are. And we are these infinite is be or soul beings having a human experience for a very finite amount of time. And so it's not about transcending the human experience. It's about integrating all of the dark and the light, all of the chaos and the ebbs and the flows. We can't have expansion without contraction,
Mm.
right? This is like, it's like a jellyfish. That's what I always think about. And we're not here to bypass that. We're here to be deeply in it and grounded in it and know that we can come take a higher perspective and know that we are so much more than our experience, that this really is just a projection through our own consciousness.
Yep. And I totally. And it's so wild to be conscious of that. As you like, for me specifically, I am just dabbling into other realms now and seeing the magic and like the
Yeah.
lights turning on and no one being around and being like, what the fuck? Like, it's so fun to start really remembering, like, oh my
Hmm.
God, we are powerful beings. There are beings that you can't see. Like, this is fun. And I feel like we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Where you're like, it's supposed to be fun and like joyful when you're with your guides and you're learning all
It
of this.
is. It is. It's like the inner child playing with their imaginary friends. And like this, we are all just children walking around in adult bodies playing, playing make believe, right? Like this, I mean, the closest we can come to like raising our vibration, people always ask me, how do I raise my vibration? It's not a doing process. It's just a being process. It's like being closer to your inner child, being closer to the magic and the
Mhm.
joy and the fun and the lightheartedness. And I love, so I want to tell a story. And Lauren, it's the story about the spirit in my room that moved the
Yeah,
bat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I was talking out loud to my guides the other night because I was kind of reeling. There was just a lot going on. I'm building several things in my business. I'm working on different projects and I just found myself overthinking everything. And I was getting a publisher for my book, but I wanted to make sure it was the right publisher. And I was really just coming up here instead of dropping in. So I was talking out loud to my guides and I was really like allowing myself to hear myself vocalize all the feelings going on inside of me. Um, and I reached a point and I could feel other energies in my room. I knew that there were spirits present. I knew my guides were present. I also knew my deceased partner was there and my grandmother. I could feel their specific, unique energies, like
Mhm.
on the bed my room right now has two beds, and I felt them on the bed next to me, sitting there. And I remember I said something out loud because I was kind of in a playful mood, and I just go, "Is anybody even listening to me?" And right as I said that, there's a big Ziploc plastic bag on my bedside table that has lived there since I came into this Airbnb a month ago. I use it to keep my liquids in for traveling, and I just left it on my bedside table. Mind you, my AC unit is in the room I'm in right now. It's the only sense of airflow in this Airbnb. My bedroom over there has zero airflow. Just want to state that for the record. So right as I said, is anybody even listening to me? This Ziploc bag, and it's pitch black in my room, so I don't see anything. I just hear it hit the ground. And I was like,
Guys,
oh my God. And I freaked out, but it was like my inner child just came out and like squealed. And I was like, so cool. Do that again. But it'd be someone else would have who maybe wouldn't trust in this and realize the extent of how connected we are and how much there really is going on in these other realms right around us all the time, might have been scared or like freaked out about it.
oh,
Um,
totally. Oh,
you
totally. I
know,
think I would have been like a week, like, what the fuck?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. But it was totally like because I was in a playful mood, my guides were like, "We'll match that." And they just went
Yeah.
and hit the thing on the ground. Like, I mean, so it's things like that it's just like how can we have more fun? I was just for all intents and purposes talking out loud to myself. And then I was able to have this incredible magical experience where I felt so deeply connected. And that actually allowed me to feel more tuned in and start receiving clarity. And I ended up having a great night's sleep and felt super clear headed after having that conversation.
I love that. And
So,
it's been so fun to like start chatting with you more and more because I feel like hearing your stories, it inspires like me. Like when I read the book Signs, have you read that from the author
so
who
I, Laura Lynn Jackson, she's an incredible medium. I ended up giving that book Signs to every person I know who lost a loved one. And I should have known that should have been a clue for me like years ago that I was super into mediumship and this stuff without obviously knowing that I would be doing this too. But it's an incredible book. And I think it's a great gateway into this realm for people who might not be otherwise familiar.
100% because I read it and after I read it was the first time I had like send me this and then they sent it to me literally
Hmm.
hours later
Hmm.
years ago and ever since then I've known the magic was there, but I haven't really flexed it. And so ever since we started working together, I've been like, okay, let me
Yeah.
fucking flex this again. And as I'm doing it, it's wild. And so I asked for a sign a week ago, and it was a blue jay, but it didn't come in the time frame. And so I was like, oh damn, maybe like I just got to keep working. And then when it came 3 days late, it was so divinely needed at that time and so it like also clocked me because something I'm working on is not controlling, not like releasing timelines, releasing all of it. So I
Hmm.
feel like it's my guides being like, yeah, no, you don't get to tell me when we're gonna come. Like we're gonna come when you need it and the validation and yada yada. And so it's so funny to start working with them because I feel like my guides, what I'm noticing is they don't give me answers intentionally because my personality is going to go out and make sure I get it. Like it's
Exactly.
really interesting
Hmm.
how I'm starting to work with them and see the relationship. I don't know. They're like kind of
Yes.
teasing.
Well, and becoming more self-aware in the process, right? Like, and this is because your guides are always going, and I was having this conversation with my therapist the other day, which was hilarious because we were like, I was talking about the fears that I was experiencing and choosing the right publisher and like creating the right online community for my membership that I'm creating, which I was telling you about. And I kept feeling these blocks and I'm like, it doesn't feel ready yet. It doesn't feel ready yet. Like I want to make sure I'm going the right direction, the most aligned direction. And I feel like I'm being guided down this path, but I wouldn't be guided down this path if it weren't meant for me. So why does it feel so weird? And I'm talking about this with my therapist and she said something and I was like, well, of course, it's so obvious. She said, sometimes our guides guide us down paths that we need to experience that we might not prefer when we do them and when we experience them, but they're what we need to go forward because otherwise we're going to keep coming up against these blocks if we keep trying to make it happen in the way that we think it needs to happen. And the example, and I love this, she gave the example of how she got divorced. She got married, like followed like the path that was set for her. She got divorced when she was 28. or sometime around then. And she was like, I mean, if I had been told that I'd be getting divorced, at that age, and like going through what I was going through, I probably would have chosen a different path. But I needed to have that experience and get divorced to do what I'm doing now. And I think about my own experience in losing my partner, which started this whole thing for me. And I was like, man, if I was so guided, and this is what I work with clients a lot, who are like, I'm in this terrible, shitty situation, but I was listening to my own intuition to get here in the first place. So now I feel like I betrayed myself and I can't trust myself because I got myself here. And this is like, I think, a really important thing to talk about, because I think about with like James, my deceased partner, I felt so pulled to him and so guided toward him, and everything in me with my intuition, it was like I was receiving signs left and right. It was spot on. And then this happened. And I look back and I'm like, man, I would not be the person I am today, speaking about what I'm speaking about, doing what I'm doing, if that hadn't happened. But if I had been told by my guides at that point, hey, you're going to fall in love head over heels, you're going to love it. Then he's going to die. And then you're going to find out that he lied to you about a lot of things. And then you're going to leave your career and your whole life's going to fall apart. But everything's going to be so good on the other side of this. I would have been like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
No, truly. True. And I think in the Bible, because my mom always told this to me growing up, right? It goes back to, and I know other spiritual texts say it, it's like God never tells you your plan because you couldn't handle it. Like we
Exactly.
literally would not handle it as humans. Like there, it's
Yes.
part of the mystery of life.
That's exactly it. I mean, so I have another funny example, unless you want to shift gears right now, but I do have like a story to tell that I feel like resonates with a lot of people. Um, along these lines. So when I was in my investment management career, I was studying for an exam, a credentials exam, the Certified Investment Management Analyst exam. And I, for the life of me, could not get myself to study for it. And I was always a really good student, like very good, didn't have to tell me twice to study. And I was like, man, I'm having the toughest time. So I go to visit I'm living in Denver at the time. I go to visit Kansas City, which is where I'm from, and I meet with a Reiki master there who was recommended to me by a friend. He's amazing. We're good friends now. This was one of my first times meeting with him, and he's clairvoyant and can see guides. And so he was like, he does Reiki with guides. And we're having a session, and I was like, can you ask them about this exam I have coming up? Because I'm just feeling like I'm not ready for it. And I'm a little nervous, and I just want to see what they say. And he was like, they're just saying pass. Like it's a non issue, just pass. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it's one of those exams where like I don't study for it and I just get lucky and I pass it. So exam day comes and I failed that thing so hard. And I remember thinking, what the fuck? Like, did my guides lie? Was he not getting the right information? Then I was mad at my guides and I was like, what's going on here? And then the next day I ended up getting promoted to Wisconsin to like an even better role that would move me to a different state, which is then what started. That's where I met James, and then everything happened from there. And then I quickly realized, and I was planning to retake my exam the next year. So I was like, well, I'll just retake it when I get to Wisconsin, and I'll start this new job. It feels a little overwhelming, but I'll do it. So then fast forward, I meet James. I'm like, I can't study. I'm so distracted. I'm going to wait till the fall to start studying. Then he dies in the fall. And then I realized quickly thereafter, I was never meant to take this exam, because then I started realizing these mediumship and psychic abilities were opening up, and I would be soon leaving the career that I was so stressed about and getting this designation exam for. And it just became so clear to me. My guide saying pass, like, don't, it was never meant to be a part of my path anyway. But if I had been told that at the time, you're actually not going to need this, you're going to fail it when you take it, but it's okay because you don't need it, because you're going to be leaving this career path in 2 years. I would have freaked out if I had had that information. So I
Wow.
love using that story, because like so many people can relate to something like that on their path, where it's like, it's just, we're going through something, and it's like, man, why are you, I keep hitting these roadblocks, why does this keep happening? And then you look back, and but you have to, it requires reflection. Because if you
Hmm.
keep going and you never reflect on it and you never get curious about it and curious about your relationship with your higher consciousness, with your guides, then everything just seems meaningless. And then that can allow us to feel even more lost and confused in the process.
Absolutely. And I tell my clients that a lot when they look back at traumatic events in their life and they either blame
Hmm.
themselves, have a lot of shame, a lot of guilt around it, like you're saying. And it's really
Yeah.
learning to transmute that energy into empowerment of like, no, you survived that, you went through that. And what did it teach you? Because you are not the same
Yeah.
person after that experience. And it's powerful, but it does take that conscious thought to
Hmm.
see clearly of the experience and where it's led you. Because a lot of times we just don't stop because we are in that patriarchal, what's next society,
Yes.
instead of like, hold on, let me pause, let me experience, and then go forward.
Yes. And we're always given exactly what we need. Like even if when we beat ourselves up for it, it's like, oh man, I should have like I actually it's funny we're talking about this right now because I just had this thought come in where I was like, man, I missed such a good opportunity to promote this channel that we're doing right now today. And I should and I wanted to do that and I just totally it slipped my mind. And so I'm finding myself beating myself up for it right now. And then I'm like, but this is you, as you're talking, it's coming through. This is the experience. Like, this is like when we're moving and grooving, it's like time to pause and reflect and say, oh man, that's an opportunity I could have seized, but I didn't because it's a reminder for me to pause and reflect and kind of like develop a little bit more structure around my like being my intentionality of how I want to be, operating in my day to day and not getting just lost in the life as it happens to me, but saying, okay, this is next week. I'm going to make a point to promote this on Tuesday. So it's not, and we can't miss what's truly meant for us. Like I needed to kind of have that reminder to set that intention and be more intentional in my day.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, love that you just said that because I feel like our guides are like, good job.
Yeah.
Because I literally am someone, I have Chiron in my 12th house of Virgo, Saturn in my 6th house of Pisces. Okay. So, like, 6th house is routine, Virgo is routine, Saturn structure. Pisces doesn't like structure. So everything in my chart, my Mercury's retrograde, which rules Virgo, right? So if you know astrology, you get like, I don't do routines, but I need to do routines. And because I don't do routines, chaos is happening in my life. As business grows, ideas flow. And my husband's like, who's a Virgo rising, we need structure. We need structure and
Hmm.
scheduling. And I need dates of like, oh, this is due to keep myself accountable or I'll get lost in the fucking sauce. And so you just saying that and me and you were talking about like, okay, what day are we going to release? What day are we going to promote? Like that is so important for me. And I could not agree more. Like, and it is
Yes.
truly what I need.
Yes. I mean, and but it's so easy because and it's tough. It's a tough balance of going between, like the patriarchal linear way that we've been taught to do everything and structure our days. And I think about as women, we don't operate on the circadian rhythm. We operate on the infradian rhythm, which we were never taught about. So we're meant to be more cyclical. We're meant to be operating more intuitively and more in flow than men are. But of course, society doesn't operate that way. So, of course, this feels confusing. Of course, this feels directionless and chaotic because we're existing in a new way here that we haven't really done before. And so, we're trying to put structure to something that really is not meant to have structure necessarily. It's more so just the actual energy that we're experiencing. How do we want to capitalize on that energy? How do we want to preserve that energy? And how do we want to express it in a way that feels aligned for what we're trying to build, if that makes sense?
Yeah. And I've been sitting with that because I'm a Cancer moon. I'm very flowy in life, like therapy,
Hmm.
right? You have to flow with whatever the client comes with today, and it's very you're reflecting a lot and you're flowing a lot. And so what I'm working with my coach around is I am such a feminine person in nature and flow that the masculine is in my life, and this is just me personally. there's not always something holding my feminine. And without
Yeah.
something holding the feminine, all this flow can come a little too much, right? And so for me,
Hmm.
I'm having to learn not the patriarchal, like this is da 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 da, da, right? Like every single moment, but it's almost
Yeah.
like how do I contain this feminine so there is somewhat of a structure so people can
Hmm.
see what the creation is coming through. And so it's really interesting watching myself almost like a pendulum. Like, okay, too structured. That didn't work because now I'm not creative. Okay, too flowy because now it's
Yep.
not getting out. And it's like learning to balance and being held in that way. And it's funny because I saw TikTok and it's like only every relationship I've seen has been someone who is more masculine dominant, holding kind of a wild, chaotic feminine.
Yeah.
And I truly feel
Uh-huh.
like that's my husband and me. Like my husband's like, okay, let's ground, let's structure. And I'm like, woo!
Yeah.
I'm like,
I love
fine,
that
I don't
so
like
much.
that.
Yes. I mean, and that's kind of how I feel just operating solo right now. Like like my own masculine and feminine energies are like, hey, what are we doing? Because this is nothing like we're used to operating. So it's like a whole, and it's like a trust fall in and of itself. I mean, my book's name is Trust Fall. It's like, because this whole thing is trust fall journey, but like in my own body, it's a trust fall too, because it's like, how do we let these energies balance out in the way they're supposed to? I'm fighting my own Virgo rising, um, like craving structure and stability routine, coming from a conventional Wall Street career where I thrived on having like, oh my God, I woke up at this time every single morning. I worked out. I had my specific coffee. I had my lunch. I had my like just everything down to the wire. And I loved it because I knew it was predictable. I knew
Yep.
exactly what I was getting. Even though the days themselves would fluctuate a little bit, I had routine in that. And for the first time in my life, this whole journey that I've been on since I left that career, I've never heard of the word routine at this point. Like, I don't know what that means. And my body is just like, we don't really know what you're doing either, but we're here for it and we're working together with this. So it's like the feminine is getting to express herself in a different way and feel held, and the masculine, like trusting the masculine energy to, in myself, to get it done. Whatever needs to be done, I still get it done. But it's just being done in a different way.
Yes. And I think when we talk about feminine and masculine energy, for anyone watching, we're not talking about gender. I just want to name that. We are talking about energy. And also, I love working with people's chart of people who are dominant in some way. And it's honoring your soul chose to be dominant in a specific energy type. And so for you, for the person, it's how do you balance in your own way? Because it's never going to be
Yes.
50-50, right? We're all uniquely
It's
created
unique.
of dominance.
Mhm.
And yeah, we
Mhm.
kind of feel like we need to balance the masculine and feminine. It's like, no, you need to balance it for yourself. Like, what is
Yes.
your energy and how does that come through? Because I'm more fun. Well, actually, I'm kind of, I feel like you're pretty balanced too. Like your
Yeah.
chart in the fire, air, like, anyways, all to say, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. Like you're saying, it's learning for yourself how to balance, not literally 50-50 balance.
Yeah, but I think that that's what people think they need to be. And like that we just have so much pressure placed on ourselves to be a certain way, to be perfect, even if we know inherently that perfection doesn't exist because we are already perfect just by simply existing on this planet.
Mhm.
Like we're here and therefore we are perfect. But that is the messaging and the programming that is unfortunately instilled. So we're constantly searching. Like I have so many clients that are like, I need to be healed before I can do this. I need to be healed before I can meet
Yes,
this partner. What do I
all
need to do to heal?
the
And I'm
time.
like, my God, I'm not healed. I'm healed from certain experiences in my life, but we're never fully healed because we're constantly evolving and expanding. And I think, and that's like a kind of a separate conversation, but
Oh yeah. But it's
I
real. I
mean,
mean, I've
yeah,
got it so often. And then when I tell people that like they got triggered and they always say, "Oh, I backslid or I relapsed." And I'm like, "You
yeah,
didn't."
totally.
It's because
No,
it's part of the journey and it's messy
it's
and you don't want to get
contraction.
here. Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely. It's the contraction and it's also like cyclical and that will always be triggered.
yes.
Like that's life, that's being
Well,
human, and
And,
that is
and,
it.
and that's yes, that's being mirrors for each other because that's all we are. We are just mirrors reflecting back our own potential to each other. We're reflecting back the parts of ourselves that need to be looked at, that need to be noticed, that need to be evaluated, right? And appreciated. And then I think about when you say cyclical, I think about nature. And I
Mhm.
write about this in my book. I'm like being brought to a specific chapter where I talk about how, we are nature, but we were never really taught that. But if we
Mm-mm.
really pay attention, look at the seasons. The fall happens, right? And the trees start to shed their leaves, and then they start to, go into their winter retreat, their season of rest. And then we operate in a society where New Year's, it happens January 1st, which is absolutely insane to me to think about that, because it should happen in the spring if we're really operating with our bodies and with our own rhythms, because we're not meant to be pushed forward at a time when we're meant to be in deep rest. And I mean, there's so much that I could say about this, but it's really, this is like, I think the crux of what we're talking about in many ways is kind of a return to our own true nature, and how do we honor that, in a society that wants us to conform to a specific way of being. It seems radical to to just be yourself.
Literally. That, I mean, you're speaking to astrology, right? Tropical
Yeah.
Western astrology. What I practice is Aries is the start of the zodiac for a reason. And what happens, like to your point of coming back to what is your natural energy? Because
Hmm.
you are an Aries, you're a starter, you are that spark of life, and you are meant to go and be more direct and be more
Yeah,
masculine. And we are living in a society where being a leader is pushed at such a young age when
it
some people
is.
are here to experience. And it's that patriarchal masculine energy. It's like, go out of your shell. You need to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, whoa, that's like sometimes not people's energy. And that this is a whole
Yeah.
tangent, understanding your child's birth chart and honoring it. But it
Hmm.
goes back to coming
Yeah.
back to our own rhythms. And okay, I this is a tangent, but I was thinking about this because I was just posting it on TikTok. My daughter is a Leo rising, and oftentimes Leo risings have really bright lights,
Hmm.
but their moms or dads will dim them because the parent
Mm,
ego is triggered because they're like, "Shh, be quiet, sit down." Da, da, da. So my
totally.
mom, yeah, was a Leo rising. She got put in the corner. A timer was set. She's a Gemini sun, whatever, and talks. Well, my daughter is actually not that Leo sun yet. She's a Capricorn moon, and so she does not smile in public. And she's a Scorpio sun. She's very private. At home, she's fun. She's playful, but then in public, she just like literally mean mugs everyone. And people are like, "Is she okay? Is she okay?" And I find the
She
need for
smiled at me, for the record.
she did. She did, which I was shocked.
I
And
know.
I over explain her. And I'm like, last night I was thinking, I was like, oh, because I'm such a people. Well, I was. And
Yeah,
I had a smile on my face that if she was 3, I'd be like, don't be mean. Come on. And it's like,
exactly.
mean. She's just being her. And she's here to teach me. She can just be her. And it's
But
so
but
important.
I mean, and look at that awareness that you have as a mother. Like, that's where we're going. This is the conscious awareness that we're building, of like not just repeating our own patterns and our parents' patterns that were passed down to us. It's catching them, it's becoming aware of them and noticing, and just noticing, like no judging, no saying, I need to be better than that. Like, it's just, does this feel like me and something that's mine? Or does this feel like a part of me that I don't really need anymore, that doesn't really serve me anymore? And it's
Yeah.
like, that's what you're doing and catching that, which I love. And I think about too, like, I mean, human design comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm a practitioner of human design too. I don't talk about that on TikTok as much, um, but it is about like coming home to your own inherent energy. And I remember doing my friend's human design chart, and she's like very high powered corporate woman, like just like I was. And um I remember reading her chart. She's a projector in human design, which they're not meant to be like the workhorses. They're not meant to be the ones like powering through the day. They're here to guide energy. They're actually like very wise guides and leaders, and they're meant to be, but they're not meant to be like working hard necessarily.
Yeah. They need
And
a lot
she
of recharge time.
Yeah, and she doesn't give herself that at all. Like, she constantly pushes through because she's very, very, very densely coded in her programming and conditioning. And when I was relaying this information for her, through her chart because she wanted this reading, I could just see it in her eye. They just glazed over because she was like, I don't read, this isn't me. And I was like, well, this is
Mhm.
your natural, this is your blueprint, this is your soul's blueprint, but this isn't how you're expressing it. Because all energy exists on a spectrum of potential. You're expressing it, this is still your energy, but this is why you keep getting sick and run down. This is why, like, it's, I mean, it's your body's telling
Yeah.
you these things, you just don't really want to hear it because it goes against what you think, what you've been told to be, and
Mhm.
where you receive worth, value, and validation. So I wanted to
100.
bring that up. Hmm.
Yes, and I think and it's such a societal thing for sure. Like work hard, and then it's also a parent
Hmm.
thing, like you're saying, of projecting our own stuff, molding these
Yeah.
children to fit society, and then they're so detached from their nature, which kind of loops it back of how they
Yes.
actually process. And so we are moving in this direction. And I was getting a lot of comments of like, oh my God, how can I not hurt my kid? How can I do this? They have Chiron fourth
Yeah.
house. It's terrible. I'm not an addict, I swear. But people say that that's displacement. And it's like, we as a society are becoming more conscious, which means a lot of these placements in human design or in astrology, if we understand them, they don't have to express in shadow anymore. They can
No,
express in the highest frequency. A projector can fully be a projector and use their light and their mirroring effect to the highest of their abilities if their parents just allows them to be them. And that's why these
exactly.
tools are so important right now of just letting the kids to be
Yes.
free.
It's tools, it's permission slips. It's and that's where, I mean, we'll have to do a whole episode at some point just about like the future generations and like the new human essentially, because there is a genetic mutation taking place. Like it's really taking place right now, but 2027 is its kind of capstone year. And the autism community's been talking about this for a while. Like these are big changes. Like this is like the next step in our evolutionary journey. Telepathy is highly involved in this. And this is like the kids that are coming in now are coming in less blind. They're coming in like we came in and forgot everything, right? But because of the work that we've done to reach heightened states of consciousness, expanded states of awareness, our children are not going to face the same thing when they come into this world. They're going to be
Mm.
automatically more. We were already tuned in when we were younger, but they're going to have a whole different experience. So we'll have to do a whole episode on that at some point because there's so much there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would love to hear that, especially as they are noticing
Yeah.
things in their children of how wise the young
Yes.
children already are.
Oh my
And
God.
also
So
just like as
much.
you're preparing and just like knowing what to come, because these children are going to be
Yes.
so emotionally intuitive that we as adults need to also get on the bandwagon of emotional regulation.
Yep. That is exactly it. That's exactly it. I mean, and I think there's so many avenues that we could go with this, but like the split, we were talking about this earlier, even like the split, people ask about 3D, 5D consciousness, new earth, all these things, these concepts. And it's like we're actually kind of already noticing this split taking effect with the people who are noticing this and having these types of conversations versus the people who are like, what are you even talking about? With
Yeah.
the new generation's consciousness. Like, no, like, I mean, it's becoming so obvious and so apparent the people who are kind of on this train track and the people who are on this train track, and it's going to keep, like, that split is going to keep widening, I think.
Oh, for
The more we
sure.
step into this. Hmm.
I was talking to my cousin and their partner, and the partner was like, and I've heard this a lot from my friends, and like this is, I'm not judging anyone who says this, but this is my perspective to this argument. Why would I bring a kid into this world?
Yeah.
And I always think about, I'm like, well, one, if a child comes into this world, they chose to come into this world. It's their own
Hmm.
choice as well, just as much as ours. Like, you can't force a baby to come through. Like, you can
Yep.
try, but you can't force. But secondly, to when I think about it, I'm like, they get to experience Earth in the way that they need to experience Earth. And as a parent, you can help guide so they aren't on tablets all day. They aren't AI babies. They aren't all these things. We get
Yeah.
to choose that. As a parent, we get to choose maybe a little bit harder parenting over convenience for sure. Like my child doesn't get screen time because the moment it's on, she's zoned in. And I'm like, no, we got to emotionally
Yeah.
regulate. I know it helps. I know it could cook,
Yeah.
but you know what? It's a convenience thing. For me, 2 years of not having TV worth it, right? So I just think it's a
Yes.
conscious thing that we get to choose, or you can go the other timeline of like my kids are going to be iPad babies, and again, that's that choice, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's like I had that mindset too of, I'm not having kids at all. And then when my guides made contact with me and told me that they were a part of my path, and I was like, no. But like it's funny how much I've learned since then about all of this and about my own path, but specifically thinking about, children, it's like I get it. Like not you look around and you're like, why would I like we can't afford anything. People struggle to even put food on their own table, let alone providing for children. And we look at what's going on in the world and what's happening to women and minorities. Like it's absolutely insane and very, very, very justifiable and valid to feel that way. And then there's also, the other part of it of, well, that could also be a reason to have kids for someone who does want to bring in souls who are able to, come in with their eyes wide open and be the change bringers and to like create new systems and be a part of this consciousness revolution.
Mhm.
So and I totally get like, all sides of this in so
Oh,
many ways.
absolutely. And I was like, I hope I didn't come off as like I was judging it because I
No,
totally
you
get
didn't at
it.
all.
Okay,
No,
good. Because I
no.
also do believe, and I saw this girl talk to this, and I felt it so strongly of a lot of people on TikTok are like, I want to be an independent woman who is valuing my
Hmm.
career. And I'm like, absolutely. You get this opportunity to harness the divine feminine and independence.
Hmm.
And that's amazing. And that is breaking the collective narrative of women have to give babies. And also,
Yes,
there are women who do want to have children, and that's also okay. And like, I'm a Cancer
totally.
young. Since I was little, I was like, I'm gonna have a baby. And my friend was like, I always judged people like you because I felt like you were just making that up. And I'm like, no, like I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And knowing my
Yeah.
astrology now, it's like, oh, it makes sense. And she was like, it's really cool to hear a different perspective of it, of like maybe you were tapped in with that soul right away. And that soul was like, I can't wait,
Yeah,
I can't wait. And other women come in later to that. Some people never do. And that's fine. It's just like all of our purpose down here. And I think it is to break society, and it's also to
definitely.
create society. And everyone has a
Yes.
role in
Oh my God, 100%. So well articulated. And you know what's interesting in my mediumship readings,
it. Yeah.
I will see children come through for somebody who like has them on their path. Like it's wild. And I remember meeting with a couple mediums after my contact experience because I was like, I just want to see what comes through with regard to the kids thing because my guides told me that this is part of my path. There's so much to this that I won't get into, but I was like, let's just see for if there's confirmation with this. And
Yes.
both of them had said like, and I do see a little boy around you. And like this is happening when you're like 38, 39, which is all what my guides told me. But then I'm seeing like two kids. They both said that. And so it's wild because I see the same thing from my clients when I'm giving readings and like a baby will come through, a child will come through. And it's interesting because it might not even be on their radar. And I'll say, obviously you have free will in this. Like just because this child is like already guiding you and hanging out with you doesn't mean that you can't change your mind. And the child, the soul knows that too. But I think
Mhm.
it's so cool that even the people that are coming into our lives who we haven't yet physically birthed into the world are already with us, guiding us the whole time because time is nonlinear. And so they're helping us get to the points that we're here to experience on our highest path, which I think is like such a nice reminder. Because it's also the same for babies who like women who have had miscarriages
I was
and
just
and
going in. Yeah.
I think I could feel that you were going to ask that. It's women who have had miscarriages and babies who have died prematurely. It's, I think it's such a beautiful reminder. It doesn't take away the pain and the grief at all, and it's not meant to, but it is really nice to know, I believe, that this was a part of that soul's plan to experience. And when they cross over, oftentimes they'll actually come back in when you have another child, like it'll be that soul from the
Oh,
first one.
I had two miscarriages and before my baby. And she has come through. She was like kept coming through of like, you're just not ready.
Hmm.
You're just, you and your husband
Yes.
aren't ready. And every
That's the thing
miscarriage,
too.
yep,
Hmm.
shifted. First one was me. I had a lot of work after the first one. Second one was my husband. It really cracked him open. The
Hmm.
third one, he's here, and the psychic was like, "Oh, she's like, that was me the whole time." And I'm like, "Of
Yeah.
course it was, Kinsley. Of course it was."
Kinsey's like, I just needed to make sure you were ready to birth this soul into the world.
That's what she
Like
said.
that, I mean,
Mhm.
truly, like that is what they will do. And often, sometimes too, this is interesting. Sometimes too, a miscarriage or a premature something, anything that happens with a couple is kind of also meant to show that you're maybe not supposed to be with that person in partnership. And so
Mhm.
often what will happen is it kind of catalyzes a divorce or a breakup of some sort.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of the role of that soul to play. And then they'll come back in at another point.
Mm. You know what's so
Yeah.
interesting is my husband and I talked about that because they brought us so fucking close. Both of them got us
Hmm.
closer and closer. And we're like, wow. We all, because a lot of people warned us, like, oh, this could really come
Hmm.
between you guys. Oh, watch out. And we're like, no, this has only brought us closer and closer. And
Yeah.
it's so cool to hear that because it makes sense then. Like sometimes it is a separation and sometimes it's a preparation of
Yes.
really harnessing this energy. And yeah, I love that.
It is, and it's and there's no, and I can see where people might start feeling like, oh, how do you know which one it is? Like, how do you know
Yeah.
what's right, right? But the thing is you can't miss it. Like, you can't miss what's truly meant for you. You're gonna feel it already. Like, it's you're gonna start to see, like, your intuition is just gonna, your higher consciousness and intuition are gonna lead you in the right direction. You're gonna start really feeling like, you know, I actually don't feel like he or she is for me any, like I feel like something has shifted or changed, like, and it's gonna keep pushing you to feel that way. Or similarly, you're gonna just feel this like draw to come together in a closer way, and to realize like, oh my god, thank god that didn't happen when it did, because when we wanted it to, because
Oh,
we really weren't ready.
I came because we needed to speed up the journey, the evolution of my husband
Yeah,
and
to
I.
get your IUD out.
Well, it was to no to yes, and she was like, well, technically I got it out, but they didn't tell me not to have sex, and it was a copper IUD, so I had sex prior to the removal, but the sperm was still alive because apparently it can take up to
Oh,
7 days. And
yeah.
so when I came through, I was like, what was the purpose of these miscarriages? She was like, your guys' spiritual evolution needed to speed up, and
Oh.
because we went through such a spiritual growth
Mhm.
during those times, it did. And actually, it's funny because you just told me that again in July, how my guides were like, you're contracting in July to speed up. I'm like, fuck, this timeline is real quick.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, and I think that's a perfect segue too. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what I told you in July, but then like what you've realized and what you've kind of leaned into and how it's transpired for you?
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, go listen to the episode around quantum timelines and shifting. And Marston just said it. And I think it's back to what you said earlier. It's like it's the channel that it comes through, the information
Hmm.
is going to resonate with certain people. And the way you explain things really resonates with me. So I can harness it and make action and changes. It doesn't get lost in the sauce. So the way
Hmm.
you were describing timeline shifts, quantum jumping, I realized, oh, I have the power. I do create my own
Yeah.
reality and I am creating it to not to be where I want to be by bypassing and avoiding things. So basically we got off that call and I just was so motivated. I think I talked about this last week to just like make those shifts. So I
Hmm.
started making active aligned shifts of speaking my truth, setting boundaries, doing the things I need to do of the version I wanted to become. And then we had a reading, and my guides both times came through and was like, Lauren's not supposed to know what's up. She just needs to trust the process, find the puzzle pieces, and
Yeah.
just keep going. And who I am as a person, I was so motivated by that. I was like, oh, in a year from now, my life's going to shift. Let me get there now.
Yep.
So
You're like, say that.
literally. And so I was like, okay, so I'm doing these steps and I asked for the sign. And July was a really restrictive month for my business because I was trying to put my energy into one on one coaching, even though I literally left traditional therapy so I wouldn't be doing one on one. It was like a repackaged experience that I was
Yeah.
putting my energy into, and nothing was happening, nothing was biting. And so I like really paused and I was like, what do I want? I want to teach. Like that is what my mission is. And over the weekend, literally everything just got painted of
Hmm.
where I was going. And it was so exciting. And then also it was like booking, booking, and then two more students want to come through. And just within 24 hours of finding what I truly want to do, the excitement of it, to all of a sudden getting more bookings, getting more traction, getting people signed up for my mentorship. It was what? Then the Blue Jay came, and I was like, holy shit,
Yep.
this is what Kirsten was talking about of you can change it in an instant when you
Yeah.
are then on that timeline. And that's what I'm seeing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's so
I
fun.
think that's the coolest story, Lauren, because it's like you took something that resonated with you. This is why I wanted you to share it, because you took something that resonated with you in a new way and you decided. You just made the decision, took aligned action, and said, I'm taking this into my own hands. And I'm allowing the universe to show me this by asking for a sign, and I'm trusting that I'll receive it. And they put that sign on reserve because they didn't give it to you in the way that you wanted or when you wanted, but they gave it to you when everything else was kind of making sense. And it was like, boom, 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 here you go. Like, don't distrust us again, because not in like a threatening way, but like,
But
how
yeah.
does it feel now to like have all this really, make sense for you?
Oh, I have full
So,
body chills. And even my husband's
yeah,
like, oh my God, I see it so clearly where we felt like we've been spinning our wheels. And I keep saying my soul was like breadcrumbing me. Like I
yeah,
was saying the right things of, oh, I'm going to blend astrology and therapy together. And like, I want to teach. And I was saying all the things, but it
yeah.
wasn't a full picture yet. And like the
Hmm.
lantern is now in my hand and now I see the path. Or before I was like tripping over branches and I was going to hit in the
Yes,
face and it was
yes.
so confusing.
Yes, and now you're like, okay, I'm still in the forest. Like I still my environment hasn't changed, but I'm
Yes.
perceiving it differently. I've changed because I'm now my perception is different. Now I know that I have the lantern in my hand. And I actually had access to it the whole time, but now I know how to turn it on. Now I know how to light it. And I think that's important. I was just talking to a client before this call about um, how the world around us doesn't ever change. We change, which then changes our perception of the world around us, which then aligns us to a different version of the world, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So, and that's where
you're
like
fully
timelines come from. Yeah. And that's where like when people say the new earth, right? Like this is old earth versus new earth, it's not a separate planet. It's like it's more and more people aligning to the same timeline here that says we have shifted into higher planes of existence, into higher densities of consciousness, which is now allowing us to perceive everything and everyone in a different way from a higher perspective, which allows us to then align to a reality where we can create these new structures, these new paradigms, this new experience for humanity. So it all ties together.
so cool. And it really makes so much sense when, like you're saying, the quantum field, when you observe it and fully believe it. Like there are a lot of, I honestly feel like being on this journey, there's a lot of fucking puzzle pieces. And of course there is, right? Because if it was easy, we would all just be
Oh God,
experiencing our
no.
dream. But it is
Yes.
interesting, like finding the people you trust, finding people that resonate, then learning how to trust yourself, practicing it, building the muscle. Like it's a fucking workout, but it's worth it.
Yes. I think that's the best way to, like, it is. It's the way I equate it to is, or how I equate it is it's like doing Pilates. And like my first Pilates classes at Solid Core, I left and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had muscles in those places. And they're so sore. And like that's kind of what this feels like. And it's interesting because that's like the people I work with in my like psychic and mediumship mentorship, private mentorship course that I like just started offering and I'm obsessed with because it's so fun to like tap more into what we're talking about right now and like use tangible examples of this. But it's like they're like, man, I didn't even know I could like trust this. It's like really like taking what comes in, the information that comes in, and then trusting that information, and then it gives you even more confidence to move forward, and that then builds that muscle. So it's just this constant practice of it.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay. We did not, it's an hour. We definitely did not talk about extraterrestrials, but you know what? Like, I love, that's why I love this shit because we just get on and chat and it is what it is.
It is what it is. And that's truly like, again, like the client I was just on with, I was like, we're not putting structure around this because what needs to come up will come up. What needs to
Mhm.
be talked about will be talked about. And I'm so glad that like this is how we do this because it opens up, this is what makes it such a beautiful, powerful channel for us because clearly whatever needs to be talked about needs to be expressed in this way at this moment in time. And it like when we get into, I'd rather do this than like force a conversation on extraterrestrial, not that it would ever be forced, but to like, like make something happen rather than just be in the flow of it. So
Well, I was gonna say too, I think where we're at, you and I, it's a really special experience because we're both building very much soul led businesses right now. And
totally.
we are following our intuition. We are following the mission that we really do feel on our hearts we're meant to do in this
Hmm.
collective. And it's fun to be able to capture live the development and the unfolding of this experience because
Yeah.
it's real and so many more people specifically with all the astrology coming is going to be on this path. It's inevitable,
Yes,
and
it
more people
is.
are going to be like, I want to do that, I want to serve, I want this, because we need
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
many people as possible for
Yes.
as get all these souls together so we can change the world and have this new paradigm. And so it's just fun to do this because we're going to look back a year from now and just have these conversations and be like, oh my god, we're
I
little
know.
babies there, like this is
I
so
know.
cool.
I know, and I love that because, and that is true because Lauren, we're doing it. This is our becoming, and I think that that's what people can relate to. It like everyone wants to know. No one wants to learn from someone who they feel like they need to measure up to in some way. Like this, you know what I mean? Like people want
Yeah.
to be able to know, like we're on this journey together. Like nobody's perfect. Nobody has it all figured out. Even people who claim to be, spiritual teachers, like we're all teachers. We're all
Yes.
teachers. And like we're also all students. Like there is no hierarchy going on here. And when you say like we'll look back and be like, we're babies, I got a chill down my spine because I'm like, that's because we're literally doing what we were talking about earlier. We're just deciding. We're just going for it. We're doing it imperfectly. We're doing it messily. We're letting it evolve organically into whatever it is. And a year from now, it'll look completely different, I'm sure. Like, but it's because we're doing it this way right now. And so
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of this. And I'm so here for it. And this is how we, we align with the right people because the right people will hear us and be like, I want to be a part of that conversation. And like I have questions and I want to talk more about this. And like that's we're building something so much bigger than just businesses here. But I think it's important for people to know too that like this path, this soul led path is the path to abundance too, and on the material
Mhm.
plane. Like, and I think that's what people tend to like be worried about is like, well, how will I make money if I do this? Maybe we can do a whole episode on that.
I was
Um,
just gonna say I really and like to share what we've experienced of the contraction and then all of a sudden the abundance when you're
yeah,
like it
yeah,
literally is like woo. I do think that's
yes,
important. And just like what we've learned along the way, entrepreneurship has been the biggest mirror. I've never grown so much in my life than becoming my own boss
hmm.
entrepreneur. Like I know why people give up because it's fucking hard.
Oh God, yes, but then it's like, okay, well, then you're living in alignment and things just start clicking and working out, and it's the best thing ever because you're like, I did that, and I can trust myself, and I can trust the universe and what I'm co-creating here. It's just like, go ahead.
Well, that just drops in for me too, because you see people on TikTok and they're like the lazy millionaire and I'm
Right.
lazy, da, 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 and they are making so much money. And you're like, I want that. How do I get that? But they're already so far up there that like I can't conceptualize going to spa treatments every single day and just making passive income yet. Like I'm just not there yet on my where I'm at. But now, like you said, it's because we're becoming that. And this is the journey that we get to be authentically open about of how is that abundance going to come? Because it will. And also I mean, everyone's journey is different, but you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, it's that
That's
bridge.
exactly it.
Those people are
Hmm.
there. And I'm like, what? How'd you get there?
That's exactly it. And I think that's kind of where the courage and sharing authentically comes from is, this, we're in this process, like we're in it together, we're documenting it, we're showing it, like, and we're helping people along the way, but they're also helping us. And I think there's so much to, and I think that's how community is built, because then it's, we rise together. It's not I rise first and then I tell you what to do. It's no, we're doing this together so we can feel supported in this, and we can know that we're not alone at this, stage in our journey, even though we're all at unique stages of our journeys. When we feel like we can relate to someone and what they're going through, that can inform us in different ways. So I love that you brought that up, because this is, and I think we should, I keep feeling like we should do a whole episode on that.
Yeah. I mean, you just had the most Aquarius energy ever. We rise together. Pluto and Aquarius,
Yeah.
baby. And what's so funny is the Aquarius full moon is next Saturday. And your moon is there and my sun is there. Oh, fuck. Are our moons and suns? I don't think they're to the degree. I think they're slightly off
Let
from
me,
each other.
I can pull up my degree.
Yeah, I think yours is 25. I remember that.
Thank you.
I should know my own chart. I'm pretty sure it's 21, but honestly, I'd look at everyone else's way more. Holy fuck, mine's 24, dude. You have a
Oh,
25-degree Saturn and moon, and I have a 24-degree sun.
oh
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
Wait, I didn't realize my Saturn and Moon were the same degree. That's wild.
Yes.
So
And
can you tell us what that means?
yeah. Okay. So, um, the degrees in astrology are all very important because each sign rules a degree. So it's going to have a flavor to it, whatever the degree is. And there is 29 degrees. So 24 degrees is Pisces. So I have a sun in Aquarius with a Pisces flare. You have a moon in Aquarius with an Aries flare. And just basically what it means is that it makes, okay, I'm going to restart. The degree allows for more information to come through around your placement because there's a ton of Aquarius suns, different house, different degree. So I'm going to express slightly differently, different aspects. And so the degree gives more layers and uniqueness to your personality. And I think that's important when you
Mm,
start to get to the depths of your interpretation. In
yeah.
addition, the transits mark degrees, right? So this full moon that's coming up, I believe, is at 17 degrees of Aquarius. So
Okay.
it's not right on our placement, but it's near it. And so the
Mhm.
closer that a transit's happening, the more activated that placement in your chart is. So it's going to impact you more. So that's from a transit perspective. So it's important to know your degrees to know, oh, that full moon is right on my sun. It's going to be really, really powerful for me. Or
Mm,
20 degrees off. Yeah, it's in the same sign. It's powerful, but it's not going to be as potentially drastic. Then the last
okay.
time we look at degrees is compatibility. So the fact that your moon is at 25 and my sun is at 24 means that our personalities, your subconscious and my conscious self, are almost so aligned. It's a very strong bond, very strong relationship. Your Saturn's there. We literally have a contract to
That is
come
so cool.
together. Yep. And work together. And so I just love that. It's like your subconscious and my conscious self merging. And the Saturn is like, yeah, we decided. And the closer the degree, the more, I don't want to say important, but the more like powerful, like I keep saying power, but like the more
Yeah.
strong that connection is.
God, that is so cool. Oh my God. This is so cool. I mean, and I want to do even, we'll have to do more. I want to know about like what that means with like the house that it's in, and just like the fact that it's moon and Saturn, what the full moon means about that. And yeah, it's so cool.
There's so
Oh,
much. And
yeah.
I'll just say like a teaser because we'll definitely do your astrology. And this just makes me think about parent-children dynamics because that's
Hmm.
just been on my heart recently. Um, your dad has the exact same moon sign at the same degree, which is so fucking rare because
Wow.
the moon changes degrees every 2-ish hours a day.
Hmm.
So to be born exactly at the same degree as your dad with the same moon sign is wild, like wild.
That
Just
is
had
so crazy. Oh my God, I can't wait to dive in more with you. This is so cool.
It's so cool. So I'll definitely tease astrology, but yeah, this full moon's coming up, and basically why I actually, yeah, I want to do a little forecast right now because the next 2 weeks are fucking wild.
Hmm.
And It's important to know. So Mercury is retrograding right now in the sign of Leo. So we are all really needing to revise and reflect on one, how do we show up more authentic? Two, how do we create more play in our lives? Three, if you're really far in your ego, you are getting checked, you're getting called out. A lot of the defense mechanisms might be falling. So spiritual narcissists are being called out more. Um, Leaders on
Yep.
the world stage are being exposed. Like that's very much Mercury retrograding in Leo. And then on August 2nd, the sun is going to come. It's going to create a cazimi, and this is going to be even more so. And so I see Mercury retrograde as Mercury's the messenger through all realms. So when it's retrograding, time is no longer linear. We are really tapped the fuck in. And so on August 2nd is a moment in time that people should really be paying attention to insights because the sun is our intelligence, right? It's kind of like we are open. It's going to open so many people to what's
Hmm.
really happening in their minds and these creative projects. Then, so that's August 2nd. Then August 9th, we have the full moon in Aquarius, and Pluto is hanging out there. And like you said, it's a moment in time we are rising together as a community. And so many of us are going to be focusing on how can I find my community. It's a culmination of moment of like, this is where I'm being drawn. This is the community that I see myself. Okay, I found it. Let's now tear down this fucking system and rebuild it together. Well,
Yep.
because this community allows me to be free. It allows me to be real and me. And that's that Leo of like, how can we all be unique but shine? And so I think that's a
Hmm.
really important full moon because then Mercury's going to be direct. Then we're going to implement all the downloads, all the creative insights, how to be more authentic. We're going to find our people. And then we lead into eclipse season. And eclipse season is going to really, really shift and change people's spirituality, shift and change people's insights around the world. These illusions that we've been living in, they're coming off. So it's just basically August and September is a really massive shift for people to see reality in a different way. Literal
Mm.
reality, time and space, but also the illusions, the delusions they're living in. And it's going to push more and more people to be spiritually awakening at this moment in time, because they're going to see things more clearly. And also, it's going to be scary, and we'll be there to catch people because the
Hmm.
back half of the year, Sag, it gets fun. It gets a little lighter. So I'm excited. I'm excited to go through. It's almost like, woo, we're going into Pisces. We're going down into
Yep.
isolation, because those eclipses are in Pisces, Virgo, and then we're going to reemerge. So yeah,
Oh my God. You're the best. I mean, I'm just like so captivated every time you share astrology. I'm like, yeah, tell me everything.
it's going to be so fun. Well, we're just such Aquarius people. So like, we're going to really
I
feel it. So like,
know.
you
Yeah.
know.
And we'll have to have so many more conversations about this, but I feel like this is like a good place to stop for
Yeah.
today. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's 10:10. I was like, yep, this is perfect. A little, I feel like closing
Ending.
out on some forecast is great. And then
Yes. And then next week we'll do we want to like say what we'll discuss next week
I feel
or
like whenever
just
we
kind of
do
leave it?
that, it like totally shifts. I do. I'm
Yeah.
just curious about aliens because I've just been so curious about it. But I feel like maybe
Yeah.
it will be next week, maybe it won't. But I just
Mhm.
think maybe just allowing it open since we do change.
I do love that. Yeah, let's just leave it open. It could be anything.
It could
It's
be
gonna be
anything.
good though, whatever it is.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
Well, thank you for
thank
listening,
you.
everyone. Side, subscribe, share, and let us know if there's any topics you want to talk
Yeah,
about.
we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thanks.